Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name's Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander John Young. Today, we commemorate the Battle of Britain, and we acknowledge Group Captain Peter Norford, Director of History and Heritage Air Force, representing the Chief of Air Force. Air Commodore Sean Clark, Defence Advisor, New Zealand High Commission. Wing Commander Jonathan Huff, Air and Military Advisor, British High Commission. Air Commodore Peter McDermott, representing the President of the Australian Flying Corps and RAAF Association, ACT Division. And the representatives of Cadet Unit 334 Squadron. The AFC and RAAF Association has strong links with the two Canberra-based Air Force cadet squadrons, and the three today will lay wreaths to mark the Battle of Britain. We also welcome members of the Royal Australian Air Force that are joining us today. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. This evening, wreaths will be laid by visitors as well as students on behalf of the following schools. From Queensland, Walkerston State School, and from New South Wales, Trinity Lutheran College, Ashmore. Could I ask you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection in the following order. Representatives of the Royal Australian Air Force, the New Zealand High Commission and the British High Commission. representatives of the Australian Flying Corps and RAAF Association, ACT Division, and the Cadet Unit 334 Squadron. Visitors and students to the memorial will now lay wreaths.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Lieutenant John Kennedy, who was the first Australian pilot killed in the Battle of Britain during the Second World War. John Connolly Kennedy was born in 1917, one of two children of John and Frances Kennedy of Dulwich Hill in Sydney. He attended St Charles School, becoming a champion gymnast and swimmer at Waverley College and playing in its first 15. He later studied accounting at night school, but soon realised that a desk job had little appeal for him and joined the Royal Australian Air Force in 1936. Known as Jack during his time in the Air Force, he commenced a cadetship as a pilot at No. 1 Flying Training School at Point Cook in Victoria and received his flight wings a month after his 20th birthday. In 1937, Kennedy was accepted for a short service commission in the Royal Air Force. After proceeding to England and completing an advanced training course, he was posted to No. 65 Fighter RAF Squadron, RAF, in March 1939, flying the outdated Gloucester Gladiator biplane before the squadron was re-equipped with a sleek and powerful Supermarine Spitfire. When Britain went to war in September 1939, Kennedy was a highly skilled pilot in a British frontline fighter squadron. Over the following months, pilots from No. 65 Squadron flew operations over France during what was known as the Phony War, during which they made no contact with German aircraft. The squadron then conducted convoy patrols in the English Channel. Kennedy transferred to the RAF's newly formed No. 238 Squadron in May 1940, flying Hawker Hurricane fighters and protecting southern England from German air attack. Once France had fallen to German forces in 1940, Adolf Hitler issued instructions to prepare for a seaborne landing on Britain. Air superiority was vital to launching a flotilla in the English Channel, and the battle-hardened pilots of the Luftwaffe began an aerial assault that ultimately became known as the Battle of Britain. Each day between July and October 1940 British and German aircraft clashed in the skies above England. British radar stations, airfields and ports were repeatedly hit, while British aircraft were set upon by large sweeps of Messerschmitt fighters. Kennedy carried out a number of sorties as flight leader during the Battle of Britain, on one occasion attacking a Junkers Ju-88 heavy fighter over Winchester. During this exchange, Kennedy's Hurricane was damaged, but he managed to land safely back at the squadron's airfield at Middle Wallop. He carried out a further 14 top-cover, interception and convoy escort sorties over the next few weeks as British targets across southern England were bombed and strafed. On the afternoon of 13th of July 1940, Kennedy's squadron intercepted 2 bombers over Portland Harbour. Preparing for a sweep of Messerschmitt fighters, Kennedy led his flight in attack on 2 bombers and opened fire at close range, killing the German gunner and damaging the enemy's aircraft. However, Kennedy's Hurricane began to lose height and, struggling to maintain course and height, crashed into high-tension cables and burst into flames. Kennedy was killed in the crash. Aged 23, he was buried at Warmwell, Holy Trinity Churchyard. A small epitaph written by his grieving family appears on the headstone. In memory of our dear son and brother, who gave his life in the Battle of Britain. Flight Lieutenant John Kennedy was the first of 10 Australians killed during the Battle of Britain. He was among the airmen referred to by British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in his powerful tribute to the men of RAF Fighter Command. Never, in the field of human conflict, was so much owed by so many to so few. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 others from the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. Kennedy is standing third from the right. This is just one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Lieutenant John Kennedy, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you a very good evening. Thank you.